Hey and welcome to this video lesson. This video is for those of you who may have just started exploring lead and solo guitar and who want to see quick progress, but also for those of you who might play a little longer but wonder why your improvisations don't sound as good as you'd like or why you always keep playing the same things. I've got this exercise from an interview with Steve Vai in a guitar magazine, and in the interview Steve Vai mentioned that it's a great exercise to only limit yourself to 4 notes when you're improvising, but to do absolutely everything that you can on the guitar with those 4 notes. And although he didn't demonstrate the exercise, I tried this myself when I was still a beginner, and I kept going back to it, and let me tell you, in my opinion, this is the single best exercise you can do if you really want to make fast progress while improvising or even developing your own solos. You will soon develop your own unique voice and style on the guitar, and after a while play things that you could have never imagined. By forbidding yourself to run up and down scales when you're improvising and only allowing yourself to play a couple of notes over simple backing tracks, you quickly learn the most important skill that every great guitarist must master: true attention and attention to detail. Also, one of the best pieces of advice my guitar teacher ever gave me was to give every single note I play my full attention. So let's start with the exercise. We'll be playing over a very simple backing track that I created myself, and you can find a link in the video description and the first pinned comment where you can download this and other backing tracks. All you need to do is enter your email and you'll get free access to everything used in this video. So this is the backing track. The backing track consists only of an A minor chord, and this allows us to focus more on phrasing and tone control while keeping just 3 core notes in mind. The 4 notes we will use are G, 5th fret on our D string, A, 7th fret on our D string, C, 5th fret on our G string, and D, 7th fret on the G string. To show you how most beginners would approach this, I'll play a few bars simulating that style. Okay, I really want to start from 0 with you, so I intentionally didn't focus on proper finger placement. The first thing you should correct for better tone, if you haven't already, is how you place your fingers on the fretboard. Avoid pressing down too much with the fleshy part of your fingers. Instead, use your fingertips and keep your fingers slightly curved for better tone and strength. Of course, this should also apply when you practice your scales and finger patterns later on. Also, when you focus on your right hand, focus mainly on alternate picking. Not only when you play fast, but please also when you play a little slower. Next, we need to stop simply running up and down scales, even when we're just playing 4 notes. And step 1 is, always be aware of the chord you're soloing over and the notes that make up that chord. This takes practice because you must learn your scales not just as visual shapes or diagrams, but as actual notes all over the fretboard. This is exactly why this exercise is so useful. You only need to memorize a few notes, yet you'll already be playing much more musically. When playing over A minor, we should focus on the notes A, C, and E. This means we should mostly start and always end on these notes. Since we're not using E yet, we'll focus on A and C. Also, don't feel like you have to play each note only once. Play some notes twice or more. Here's a short improvisation applying everything I just mentioned. I'm placing my fingers correctly, I'm targeting A and C, and I'm playing some notes multiple times. Step 2, include more pauses in your playing. Even guitarists who can play fast and know many cool techniques understand that taking breaks is just as important as playing. Otherwise, you risk overwhelming or even boring the listener with too much information. Of course, there are exceptions, but if you want to be more than just okay, if you want to be truly great, you need to treat your guitar like a voice, and just like lead singers, you need to breathe between phrases. Being familiar with rhythm is a huge advantage here. Lead and solo guitar is just rhythm guitar with more single notes. This is a key takeaway. Feel free to check out my rhythm guitar videos. Part 1 is linked above right now. Everything you learn there can be applied here as well. Our backing track is set at 60 beats per minute. From now on, focus on the rhythm and tempo to determine when to stop and start playing. Specifically, keep track of the downbeat, the 1, and switch between quarter notes, eighth notes, and later even 16th notes. Here's my next example applying these concepts. Step 3, to break free from simply running up and down your scales, start skipping notes within the scale. This creates what are known as tongue twister licks. Here's how they sound when played across a full scale. With just 4 notes, you can get really creative as long as you don't overplay and still focus on landing on A and C. For better tone and smoother phrasing, use only your index finger on the quote-unquote left side notes, so G and C, and do a quick roll here. On the quote-unquote right side, so for the notes A and D, use your ring finger only when moving from A to D and maybe even backwards. But when you're moving from D to A, use your index finger for A instead of making an awkward jump with your ring finger, because this will never sound good. So I'm gonna play C, D, and A here. And also use 3 finger for this. If I play A, D, and C for instance, I'll just use my ring finger. And here's another example combining everything so far. now that you can already sound musical with simple licks and runs, let's focus on phrasing techniques. The most important aspect of good tone is your vibrato. Too many beginners and players who haven't worked on tone control use shaky, uncontrolled vibrato. Some students have told me this is just a matter of preference, but ask yourself, which sounds better, this shaky vibrato or this controlled and slow one? Especially when you're playing with a little more gain and let your notes ring for a long time. This will sound so much better than this. The reason many avoid proper vibrato is that it takes a lot more time and effort to master. Your vibrato doesn't just come from your fingers, it comes from your entire forearm. So here's an improvisation using vibrato and also a little more gain to make the notes ring a little longer. One of the easiest phrasing techniques is sliding. You can slide slowly, making it sound like two notes. Slide quickly, making it sound like one note. Play a note and immediately slide into it again. And slide backwards, forwards, or back and forth. So here's another improvisation where I apply all these techniques. You could spend hours just practicing these techniques and end up playing things you never imagined. It's crucial to practice this exercise at times for at least 30 minutes straight without distractions to experience a breakthrough in your playing. That's why I've included a 30-minute version of this backing track along with the 5-minute version in the download link. Alright, now let's add palm muting. To improve your palm muting, practice both with a clean and a distorted sound. New ideas often come from different tones. Also use different pickups. Sometimes even during your improvisations, because that will also inspire you to play a little differently every time you switch between pickups. Next, let's introduce rakes. To execute rakes well, hold your pick differently and mute unwanted strings with your picking and fretting hands. Don't use too much force for the muted notes, or otherwise you will hear noise instead of these nice little Reiki sounds. Practice this thoroughly before adding it to your improvisation. Cool, now let's add hammer-ons and pull-offs. Hammer-ons and pull-offs, just like slides, can also sound like two notes. Or like one. And now finally, let's talk about bends. Poorly intonated bends can ruin a great solo. First, let's focus on whole step bends. Train your ear by playing the target note first, listening closely, and then bending precisely to that pitch. So here's the D on the G string. And I'm bending it either with my index finger or with my ring finger. This will now also enable you to finally play your fifth E when you bend the fourth note D. And since it will only sound great if you do it correctly, it will more or less force you to intonate your bends perfectly. So now here's a final longer improvisation incorporating everything we covered today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, leave a comment, and don't forget to download the backing tracks and bonus content via the link in the description and the first comment. So listen to the final improvisation here and then have fun improvising yourself.